Good evening, everyone. I really don't need the microphone, but we're taping this evening just because we want to be able to have a copy of the presentation tonight to be able to share on Channel 99 for folks that were not able to join us this evening. So we welcome all of you. Thank you very, very much for coming out this evening. We have a small group, but as we all were just talking, that if we can make a difference and really bring information to each and every one of you that are here tonight, then we've done a good thing for students. Our evening tonight, the focus is clearly on something that we feel is so very, very important, and it's based on student safety. Student safety, obviously, through safe computing within our digital world, and then also safety in terms of drug awareness and also just peer pressure that our students are going through today. Being a kid today and being a teenager today is not an easy thing at all. And the faces of our students that are here today, we are so absolutely very proud and happy that you took time out of your busy schedule tonight to be able to join us. So let me share a little bit about the overview of how our evening will work. And for those of you we've got more crowds coming in, so that's wonderful. For those of you that do not know me, I'm Sandy Lamont. I'm the Assistant Superintendent here, and we have many wonderful resources and as well as administrators here with us this evening that you will actually meet throughout the evening. So the first part of our program is actually on the safe computing session. And we have our technology department here that they're going to share with you briefly just some key information that will be valuable for you to have. And then we really want the night to be an informal dialogue as well too. So they'll go through their presentation briefly, but then have an opportunity for some questions and answers. During this time, we do want our students, our boys and girls, to actually stay with us, because I can promise you, they're on, and I see the smiles, we know that they're on their computers, we know they're on their devices, or we know they're on their cell phones more than any of us. So we want this to be valuable learning for them as well too. When we break after the first part of our session, then we'll invite our students to join our wonderful counselors, and I see our counselors here from elementary, middle, and high school. They're actually going to take the students with them and do some positive choice lessons while we ask our parents to stay, because during the second part of our program, we are very, very fortunate to have Chief Boddington as well as District Judge Jeff Joy. We're very proud to work in partnership with our community in order for all of us. It does take a village for all of us to keep our children safe and to keep you well informed as well. So that's an overview this evening for what our breakdown will look like, and once again, we're absolutely thrilled that you're here. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our technology department, and I'm going to let Mr. Doug Walters introduce himself and the rest of the team.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lamont. Like she said, my name is Doug Walters. I'm the coordinator of student transportation here at the district, but I also serve a dual role in technology, along with these other gentlemen and our good technicians that we have. Just briefly, in past years, we've used a slightly different format where we focused more of the details into a slideshow. This year, we wanted to change things up, and I would echo what Dr. Lamont said in that we would like to have a dialogue with you, and as a panel of technology experts, I'll give ourselves that title, we want to be able to answer the questions that you find relevant and important, and then also share some interesting things, some things you may not have known with you as well. So just briefly, we want to talk about why safe computing. Why is that important? And I think for those of us who are parents in the room, we recognize that access to technology does give our children access to a vast spectrum of knowledge, and it exposes them to a lot of different cultures and ways of life, many of which are beneficial and are great learning experiences for them. But just the same, we know that technology can be used in a way that exposes children to various threats. And so we want to take the next few minutes here just to run through a very brief slideshow to highlight some of the main buzzwords and activities that we want you to be aware of. And again, in the hopes that that spurs on a conversation that this panel can share with you. And this obviously makes parenting in the digital age very difficult. I'm going to turn the time now over to Mr. Bruce Mickey. Again, he'll introduce himself and run through some interesting points about systems and how we protect our data.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Again, my name is Bruce Mickey. I'm the coordinator of technology here for the school district. And what we cover to you tonight is going to be, in summary, what we call some critical areas that we want you to be familiar with. It's really about awareness, and more details are available to you. And we're going to refer you to the National Cybersecurity Alliance website, staysafeonline.org. That'll be part of the slide that'll come up later. It's well organized, kept up to date, and it has all the details about devices, mobile devices, security, anti-malware security, protective backup strategies that you can use. A lot of things I'll cover and my colleagues will cover. So more details are available to you for follow-up at that website that we'll have the web address for you later. I'm going to direct attention specifically to the asset in the house. Commonly the laptop, nowadays people are using the laptop, and a lot of us still have the desktop computer in a study of the house. We're all used. So just like any other valuable asset in the house, computers are not inexpensive. You want to protect it from things like accidents, breakage, theft, fire, and so on. Well, one of the things about the computer I want to talk about is that if you do find the computer become inoperable, lost, stolen, broken, there's something on that computer that's more valuable than just replacing it. It's your data. It could be pictures. A lot of people are taking digital photographs today. It could be a whole lot of pictures. Important documents. It could be tax return documents. It could be, for a lot of you who cook well, it could be all your recipes. But there are so many things today that allow you, with software, to keep data on the computer so it's not on paper and easy to get and access. Keep in mind that when that computer becomes inoperable, so is the data not available to you. So one of the best ways to protect the computer and its data is what we call backup. Now you can have a lot of different strategies for backing up your computer. You can back up in its entirety, or you can back up only the data. Entirety is that you don't have to later install the software programs, all of which access and store the data and manipulate the data. So each of the choices to you are available to the website I mentioned later with more details on how you would do it. A full backup is more tech savvy, although if you chose an online backup option, software is going to run by itself and get the full backup for you online. If you choose a full backup, the best time to do it is immediately after you buy the computer, or at times where it's running great. You don't want to do a full backup of the computer when it's already running slow or has problems with it, because you'll only be able to restore what it was that was backed up. So a good strategy is at least back up your data. Data, whether it's pictures, whether it's tax documents, whether it's recipes or any other of the like, just make sure you have it in two places. One, on the computer, on the hard drive of the computer. And then two, a off-line backup. It could be a USB stick, a USB drive, cloud storage. Many options to you are available. Just have it in two places. Now, what makes a computer become inoperable, other than the things of theft and fire and accidents within the house or accidentally deleting files? But the common way a computer becomes inoperable is for it to become infected with software viruses or spyware. Categorically, we combine the two and call it malware. So again, you're going to look online to the Stay Safe Online looking for an anti-malware security solution that best fits your laptop or desktop computer's operating system. They'll run and stay updated. You configure them to stay updated, so as new threats come out, these software and malware providers keep definitions up to date to fight the things that come out, so that they automatically will be kept up to date and protect your computer from those infections. How do those infections get on your computer? Well, they come in a lot of different ways. we call them hackers that are out to get information from your computer or you yourself what you're doing on your computer. So they can get there by virtue of a virus or a spyware that came in as an attachment to an email. It can come on your computer without you knowing it all by just your behavior on certain websites. The websites that you might use can be dangerous to spyware when what they're offering is free. Oftentimes we look at, hey, let's go out and look for some free stuff. Okay? We'll go out there and get some free downloads that we can use. And well, those are the sites that the hackers are going to go out there and put stuff on while you're browsing. You won't know it, but that stuff will become installed on your computer. It's now going to track the activity. What you're going to notice is the computer's going to become running slower and slower and slower. A lot of you will see that commercial. I'm just going to pick one. You know, my PC or myfastpc.com. Okay. All those things are out there doing is removing your anti-spyware software because those things slow down your computer. So, in your house, you also typically have a wireless router. Don't keep it open. Put the password protection on it because if it's open, that leaves people in your neighborhood with close connection to your household wireless router, the ability to connect onto your network, and have the option to packet your activity. As well, the danger of that is if they misbehave on the internet, do something criminal, it's going to be tracked back to your house. It's as if one of you in your household are doing it. So protect that wireless router with a password key so only you know how to access your wireless network. I spoke with that automatic updates, and then, well, the operating system of your computer will have a firewall. It's a stay safe item that if you keep it turned on, it'll stay updated as well. So again, all these things I mentioned, you'll be able to find for yourself on the StaySafeOnline.org website. Later you can ask questions. Right now I'm going to turn it over to Mark Rill, who's going to talk more about your identity and how you want to protect yourself from theft of your identity.
Thank you, Bruce. Good evening. If there were 4 points that I wanted you to leave here tonight with, I put those up on the slide right now. The first is, we always talk about identity theft. And our concept of identity theft, I think, is changing over the years. Identity theft now includes your usernames and passwords, as a lot of your banking information, your credit card information, all that is secured with your usernames and passwords. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. The other is phishing. And phishing is a solicitation through mostly email, which I'm sure you've seen. We call it spam, where they try and get you to reveal your personal information through email. One important point I want you to leave with is a banking institution, if it's PayPal or your local bank, they will never send you an email and ask you to log in through the email or to verify your username or password or any other important sensitive information. They might send you a link that says, please log into our website, but they won't ask you to do it through email. The third point is transaction security. And what that means basically is when you buy things online. Probably the most important thing with purchasing items online is to make sure that you see the little padlock symbol, which is up there on the right-hand side of the screen. That little padlock symbol means that your data is encrypted. So this means that people on the internet can't get your credit card information or your bank information. And the last point is kind of interesting, and that is geolocating and location services. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but most smartphones now have a GPS unit in them. That's how you can get driving directions and all that nice stuff. But what a lot of phones and other devices now that have a GPS chip in them do is, for instance, when you take a picture, it'll actually insert the GPS coordinates into the picture itself. So you can imagine a scenario where your child might take a picture, put it on Facebook or some other social media site, and if they did it with their smartphone with location services enabled, it actually puts your GPS coordinates of where that picture was taken. So, later on I can show you some examples of how that works. In that aspect, it's a little scary, but there are positive uses. For instance, when you go on vacation, you might want to turn on geolocating, so that way you know the different monuments that you took pictures of. You can always go back and look and see exactly where you were when you took the pictures. So those are the 4 points that I want you to at least be aware of, and I'm looking for any questions that you have later on. Thanks.
Now we'll turn the time over to Mr. Ben Louie, who will address protecting your reputation.
Good evening. As we think about protecting reputations, I think a lot of times our children, and I'm a parent of children, I think a lot of times they don't really think about the amount of information that they're actually sharing. Not in a way like banking transactions, things like that, but just personal information about themselves. And so I think the first thing when talking about protecting a reputation is just understanding and making children aware of what it means to be a good digital citizen. So I think, a lot of times we talk a lot about just regular citizenship, but not necessarily, they don't always necessarily make that translation into the digital era. So, digital citizenship is just helping them understand how to act appropriately, responsibly, when they're communicating, collaborating, or interacting with other people online. So I think the things we have to take into account is what kind of information is being communicated. There's all kinds of different social networks out there. Some of them are photo type things that's being communicated. Others are more text-based information. As Mark said, there's geolocation and tagging and checking in different places when they go to doing different activities. So there's all kinds of different information that's being communicated, and really what's happening is all of us, when we're in the online world, we're building like our own digital footprint. So there's all kinds of different things that once we share that out on some of these social network sites and different places, we don't really own it anymore, and we don't always have the ability to get it back. We might be able to take it off that site, but we don't know who else has read that, who else has captured that, and things like that. So we really need to be thinking about the information. I think as parents also, we need to be thinking about what kind of devices are our kids using to do that communication. A lot of times we think about the cell phone and the computer, but we don't maybe think about the gaming console or, an iPod or things like that. So we want to keep track of what's being communicated and what devices. So I think the big thing we need to do is teach children how to be responsible. And sometimes the best way to do that is to actually model that behavior. So I think the responsibility of children and the responsibility of parents really need to go hand in hand. I can tell my child what to do, but if they see me doing things differently, that's not really sending a very good message. So a lot of times the kids might not like this, but really if your children are going to be out in these spaces, it's a good idea for you to be in the same space with them, to be friends in their social network sites, have other friends of yours who are friends with them. So I think together kids can learn the responsibility when they see us modeling that for them. So all that stuff kind of put together is really the essence of protecting a reputation in an online environment. So I'm going to turn it back to you.
We'll just take a few more moments here to have Mr. Mickey go over again the details of the StaySafeOnline.org, what you can go out on your own to find, things that you can expect to find there. And then, again, we'd like to have some interaction with you as a panel and answer some of the questions that you find most relevant or pressing.
As I said earlier, the website is easily navigated, has lots of content, and what you see under each of the 4 categories in blue are hyperlinks. So where you see Spotnets and virus and malware, if you click that, you're going to see more details on the specifics of viruses and malware, and then the options for you to protect yourself from those items. You'll see content areas that speak specifically about the digital citizenship, the areas that Mr. Louie was speaking specifically to about protecting your reputation. Similarly, there's aspects of how you protect yourself from identity theft. Now, while that slide is in front of you, where you have pencils and papers and a memory to go back and remember where that is, These slides that you see tonight will be on our website tomorrow under the Community tab, under Safe Computing. So you can always visit back, find the URL to this site, staysafeonline.org, and they do keep it up to date on a regular basis with any of the new information regarding safe computing. So at this time, we'll ask you for questions.
Thank you. I share with you that the four gentlemen up front have an incredible amount of knowledge in the area of technology. They work diligently each and every day to ensure that our students are here in a safe network at school, but are here to really share any knowledge or expertise with you of any questions that you may have personally as well too. Here's the time really to tap into their expertise. And the one thing, and I'll open it up to questions that you all have before we break into our next session, but the one thing I really wanted to start with, and I'm going to actually have Mark share with us what that geo-tagging looks like, because I think as a parent, I actually have a 17-year-old and a 20-year-old, and I think the hardest thing each year is seeing it just being more difficult to be a parent with so many things out there that really can cause harm or damage to our children. So Mark, will you share that with us?
Yeah, Sandy mentioned geotagging is one of the new interesting technologies. And now, for the sake of speeding along time, I have the website up called Flickr. I'm sure most of your children use it. You probably use it. It's basically a photo sharing website. And it has this nice feature where you can search on a map. And I already clicked on the search on the map, and I did a search for a dog as a description in Glen Rock. And then these are all the things that came up tagged to a particular location within Glen Rock. And this is the GPS coordinates embedded in the picture. So for instance, we can see that this little Halloween dog here was, let me zoom in here a little bit more. That if this were a child, he would probably live right off of Glen Avenue in this second house. So this is one of those technologies that you really should talk to your children about and make yourself aware of what pictures are geotagged and which ones are not. So are there any other questions? Okay, so how you prevent it is on the device that you're taking the picture. Typically, they'll call it location services. For those of you that have iPhones, every time you do an update, it seems like you have to agree to the new terms of use, and it says, can we turn on location services? And location services is basically your GPS chip. When you turn that on, it turns it on for MapQuest or Google Maps. It turns it on for your camera when you take pictures. It turns it on for a whole host of things. So it's location services is what you look for on your device, and that's basically geotagging.
So you turn it off, and then turn it on when you're done taking the picture.
Yeah, as good practice, typically what I do is I keep location services off until I need to use my GPS navigation. Then I'll turn it on for that period and then turn it back off.
Websites that you go to, like if people are going to different sites, are they somehow
Geotagging by itself is typically embedded in a picture or a different, depending on how you interpret it, I would say typically no, geotagging is more for pictures. Now let's say you did take a picture with your GPS enabled camera and you put it on Facebook or some other sites, they may strip them now today.
and maybe, I don't know if this will help to answer your question at all or not, but typically when you're looking at things that are being geotagged or things that are related to a location, a geographic area, it's not going to be so much what websites did I look at while I was in the high school auditorium, but it's going to be what pictures did I take in the auditorium, what videos did I take in the auditorium. It might be, if you're a user of social media, a tweet, if you use Twitter, what tweets you may have sent while you were in the auditorium. If you check in on some of these social media sites like Foursquare or Yelp, those are going to be, again, location-based services where someone could actually go out and find out where you've been at certain points and what you've shared from those locations. Does that answer your question at all? Okay.
One quick thing to add on to that is, with location services, there are tools out there that you as a parent can use with your child to, I don't want to say basically track your child. You can use it to see where they are at any given time. So for some parents that might be an option. For others that might be a little creepy. But that is it's another use for geolocating.
And just as you have that ability as a parent to track your child, just remember too, the scarier part of this is that other people have the ability to track your child or to track where you've been at different places. So that's the piece that we need to make sure that we're educating our children and that our kids understand that at any point in time, someone can identify their location or where they've been or what their habits are to go back and perhaps see that routine again. That's the scarier part. I think the other, is that kids all the time are kids saying, oh, that's okay, that'll never happen to me, or no one will ever track me, or whatever. We need to teach them this is a whole other area of how we need to keep our kids safe. I saw another hand too. Did you have a question?
No, it was easy.
Okay.
The geotagging, that applies pretty much to the social media stuff. So if you are, I don't want to say forbidding, but not allowing Facebook, Twitter, whatever else is out there, if you're not on that, geotagging should not be an issue, correct?
I would say it's less of an issue because when you take a picture that is geotagged, it's actually embedded in the picture. So you kind of have to think of it from the standpoint of what is your child going to do with that picture. If they email it to someone online, they would have the coordinates. But the chances that, I would think that it would be a little more secure in that method. I don't know if you guys
Same thing goes. Email the picture to someone else. Now, what's that other person going to do with that picture?
Well, and that is to another question. If a student is taking pictures in school and emailing and passing these things around, is that being monitored in any way through the website or through the district?
Question.
I'm going to make sure I introduce our building administrators that actually do address that as well too, because I'm thinking parent to parent with you right now, probably.
All from a technology perspective, I can answer that by saying we have an acceptable use policy. And in the child's handbook is where all this is laid out. It's on our website, but that's where they'll sign it. So the course of action and use of digital technology all lays down to responsible use. So what you do as a parent, teaching the child the risks associated with the mobile devices and the use of technology, so is it true to our educators in supervising the students in their classroom. Not only the use of technology, but just growing up in general in all facets of life. So there are appropriate places where technology's off limits, where those pictures would be most damaging, aren't permitted, because the technology is not even allowed. But each of those things, from the course of cheating, I have to use the word cheating, it often comes up with the way text messaging goes and use. So yes, the activity of those devices in the classroom are supervised, and teachers become more and more aware of the behavior of a child who's not being responsible with the device. They all demonstrate certain things about what they're doing, as if they're using it improperly, if they're going to websites that aren't part of the classroom, they're not focused. I mean, there's all kinds of signs, but to answer your question, yeah, we write up responsible use, so there's policies in place. And then we have to deal with it on a disciplinary nature basis when there's folks that are breaching those policies.
Just to clarify, no district devices that are in the classrooms have the ability to geotag. So when your kids are using our school district equipment, our equipment doesn't have the ability. They don't even have the GPS chips in them. So that's just. I just wanted to throw that out there so you're aware.
And just to add to that, before we close this evening, our administrators are also here this evening, are also going to have an opportunity to share with you how we ensure safety and security of our students within the school. But I do want to just take a minute to introduce them that are here this evening too. Dr. Len Reppert is here from the middle school. Mr. Kevin Mullen is here from the high school, our high school principal, Dr. Bryson, as well as our other assistant principal, Mr. Jim Hollinger. They are at playoffs on the soccer field or at the volleyball game right now. So we're glad, though, that Mr. Mullen could be here with us. On the elementary level, we have Mrs. Jody Sowers, Principal at Shrewsbury, Mrs. Mary Dankowski. She's the assistant principal at Southern Elementary and Friendship Elementary. Mrs. Lisa Boyer is the assistant principal at Shrewsbury Elementary. And in the back that gave you your agenda is Mrs. Beth Coons, and she is the principal of Friendship as well, too. So in regard to just their dedication and commitment to ensure that the question that you ask are devices and equipment and technology being used appropriately and for instructional purposes within the building. These are the fine folks that do oversee that each day, and they're available for any questions that would pertain to them as well. Did we answer your question? Yes. Good. Other questions? Yes, Jen.
I just want one. I don't know if anybody can address this. Is there a place to look and research yourself about consequences of inappropriate behavior with devices? Like, not just at school, but just in general? Like, so people can understand, what would happen if you're doing wrong things with your devices?
School-wide, in terms of what would happen at school, I'm going to let Dr. Reppert address that question.
Yeah, Jen, regarding any school-wide, within the handbook, there are the consequences, whereas Mr. Minnick was talking about the acceptable use or responsible use. If the student's not using it for the instructional purposes within the classroom, the first offense being the device was confiscated, the student-owned device. The second time would be confiscated, again, the parents would have to pick it up, and the third time would be a pickup along with the consequences. But if you're looking outside, are you thinking about what can I do in the home regarding? I also think, Judge Joy, you'll be able to speak specifically to, as well as Chief Boddington, about some of the consequences of students that may be doing things outside of school that are inappropriate, regarding sexting, inappropriate sending of pictures, anything that can be deemed inappropriate, bullying, cyberbullying, things that are happening outside of school. They will be able to address those components that can happen to those students outside of school. Is that what you're referring to?
Great question, thanks.
And I think I would even maybe take that one step further and redirect you back to the Stay Safe online website. If you look kind of at the third tab over, it says for parents. That's where you're going to want to look if you see things like raising digital citizens, cyberbullying, harassment, parental controls. You'll find a wide variety of tips, of other things that other parents have done successfully in their homes to address the kind of things that you're talking about that maybe aren't going to go to the level of the district court or the school administrator, but as a parent and child, different techniques that you can use in the home to, with your child, use that technology responsibly, teach them. This is the website you want to go to. And again, like Mr. Mickey said, we will make sure that this is available to you on our district's website starting tomorrow morning, that you can go out there and find not only this slideshow, but a link to staysafeonline.org.
And in addition to, at the end, as I said, when we close, and the administrators share our in-house resources with the parents too, we are truly committed that whenever there's a question or whenever there's a concern, or if you think that something has crossed the line, or if it's something that's happening in school that we may not be aware of, but you hear about it at home, we say all the time, pick up the phone and call the school, because we need to hear that. And it really is collectively, all of us here together as a community, to keep our kids safe and to ensure that what's happening, whether it's in the schoolhouse or whether it's online, that our kids are safe. Other questions related to technology, and again, even at the closing, if you have an individual question that you think is a little bit more personal or one that you just would like to address in any one of the areas, all of our folks will be staying after to be able to answer any specific questions as well. So with that, we're going to transition now into the second part of our program.
Reiterate what the technology people said. This technology issue is becoming an epidemic with us. We're getting calls all the time, harassment by cell phones, the computer stuff, identity theft. It's just amazing. A kid goes on Facebook and says, hey, I just had my 16th birthday today. You just gave away your date of birth. You know, you're giving away valuable information. Kids get on Facebook and say, oh yeah, we're going to the shore for a week. You just told everyone around that no one's going to be at your house. You know, you just have to go burglary. So, yeah, there's so much information floating around. Kids really do have to be careful, and we're getting all kinds of calls about things you wouldn't even think of. Kids are doing with cell phones and computers and email. And Jeff, he sees the results when we get to the point we have to send it to his office. So it is really good stuff. The reason I'm here mainly is to reiterate some of the law enforcement part about it. They mainly want to talk about drug and substance abuse. I've been an officer down here 35 years, and ever since I've been here, you know, substance abuse has been an issue. I don't know if it's any worse than it's ever been. It certainly is more documented and more talked about and more visible, especially with our technology and communication. Kids are communicating, getting stuff off the internet and communicating back and forth, which makes the problem a little bit more tangible to everybody. Starts off with, you know, could be tobacco, cigarettes, alcohol. The staircase of drug abuse, as I used to teach in the DARE program, you know, no one in high school thinks they're having to be a heroin addict. You know, it starts off with cigarettes, alcohol, goes to marijuana, cocaine, heroin, and down the line. Most people just don't start with that. They escalate, they work their way up. There are many signs to it. Stress levels are up. You know, with all this technology, kids are more attuned to what's going on in society, more attuned to what's going on in their own relationships with people. Sometimes the internet and the cell phones tend to escalate social issues and social problems and magnify social problems. Our kids are learning to communicate through cell phones and won't talk to each other in person. It's so easy to threaten someone or say something nasty over the telephone or whatever. And then this extra stress that kids are under can add to the substance abuse issue. Not only with drugs like marijuana, cocaine, and heroin, but now we're finding prescription medications are being abused at a tremendous rate. One grandparent said to me, oh, it's just so wonderful, my kids come see me, my grandkids come see me all the time. Well, guess what? You've got a smorgasbord of pills on the dining room table on a Lazy Susan, and kids are realizing some of these drugs are good things to get. They're easier to get than some of the other stuff. Some kids are being asked to sell their own medication. If you're an Adderall for ADHD, whatever, kids are selling their own pills for $5-6 a piece to get pocket money. So there is an issue out there. Kids are smarter, they're learning more. They just browse the internet. They can learn about more drugs than they ever knew before. When I was in high school, all you heard was on the school bus or on the street. We didn't have the internet, but I can go on the internet and browse heroin, cocaine. Kids are trying to learn how to make methamphetamines on the internet. This availability of information is causing a real problem. What drugs, what prescription drugs are the best ones to take from your parents and grandparents when you go in their house? You know, so you need to be aware in your home, if you have someone who has, you know, real strong prescription medications, painkillers, relaxants, muscle relaxers, that kind of thing, keep them hidden, keep them put away, because you put them in your bathroom, your medicine cabinet, anyone who visits your bathroom can take a few. And we've had that sort of problem. So the substance abuse issue is there. There's a lot of good kids out there that don't do anything, but unfortunately, if they hang out at a party where someone is using the stuff, you're guilty by association in many situations. Judge Joy can tell you how many times we have kids that, are innocently at a party saying, well, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking marijuana, but the party gets raided, they're all there, it's constructive possession. You can get in trouble. A lot of parents don't know what to look for. I brought along some samples of some of the things we've confiscated over the years that a lot of people say, what is that? I never saw that before. If you see it in your kid's car, you see it in their room, you see it in their pocketbook, their handbag, or their book bag, and you say, what's this? It doesn't look like some of the stuff you're used to seeing, so you feel free to come up after our selection here today. You can ask questions, look at some of the stuff, and I'll try to explain it to you. As a parent, the best thing I can tell you is just to be observant. Pay attention to what your kids are doing. If they seem like they're acting funny or they don't seem like they're themselves, try to find out what's going on. Be suspicious. Don't be prying and don't be, arrogant to them or don't really put on too much pressure, but just be observant. Pay attention to what's going on. There'll be some subtle signs that'll tell you that something isn't right. One mistake a lot of parents seem to make, and I've seen periodically, and heard of from other colleagues in law enforcement, is some parents are so afraid about their kids going away from the house and doing substance abuse like drinking or whatever, that they seem to think it's permissible for them to do it at their house. I'll do it, I'll watch it. You can have a party in our basement, I'll watch everybody. That's illegal, it's wrong, it gets you in trouble both criminally and civilly if you permit that kind of thing. So some parents think they're doing the right thing by trying to keep a handle on them. That's the wrong way to go. Keep a strict hand on them, just pay attention, be alert, and look for some of the telltale signs. So again, I'll be here after the presentation to answer questions and look over some of the stuff I have and answer your questions. I know we're short on time, and I'll turn it over to Judge Joy.
Good evening. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. First of all, I'd like to thank the school district for being very proactive in sponsoring this program. It's terrific. I'd like to thank the parents that are here for being engaged and involved in your child's life. You're the type of people I'm not going to see in court. Our children are no different than we were. They're going to make mistakes. Okay? It's how we react and learn from those mistakes and deal with the mistakes when they make them is going to make a world of difference. One note I'd like to share on cell phones and computers. I'm finding out that the activity lasts forever. I get people in court and the police will bring in a search warrant for somebody's cell phone or for their laptop at home. And I hear the people in court say, well, I never sent that, I didn't send it. And then I'll hear them say next, well, I thought I deleted it. Doesn't matter, if they get a search warrant and they subpoena AT&T for the records, whatever was ever done on that cell phone or on that laptop is brought up in court. And believe me, it's very embarrassing because I've had parents, grandparents find out that these things, or they sit there and read the text message the students sent back and forth that, they're shocked at what occurred. So again, that's going to be brought out sooner or later, so they can't think that we can just send this stuff and delete it, it goes away. It doesn't. It stays forever. And what I like to kind of tell them when they're in court is if your grandmother or your mother was sitting on your shoulder could read what you're looking at or what you're sending, would you send it or look at it? If they say no, well, you made a mistake. You shouldn't have sent it or read it because your grandmother or mother is going to be sitting in court beside you when we read it here in public. And it's also very embarrassing. The other thing I'd like to bring up is always assume that your children know anywhere they're at, you're on camera. Almost every public building now has camera systems. If you go to Walmart, look at the two trees out in front of Walmart on top of the building, the antennas. There's 6 cameras on the outside, and every square inch of that building is under camera surveillance. Rudders is the same way. Every public building. I just had a case with the state police, 2 gentlemen racing down Interstate 83. And they got 9 911 calls on that, and they actually brought witnesses in that were seeing these 2 gentlemen race down 83, and one of the gentlemen was following, videotaping on a cell phone. So the state police actually had video evidence of this guy following, racing, got both tag numbers, and you're on camera, and they stood there and denied it. We didn't race, and then the state police said, we'd like to introduce this. We look at it, and guess what? Always assume when you're in public, your cell phone, anytime you see something going on, you can pick it up and start videotaping, and it becomes evidence. So be very careful what occurs.
What I'd like to share with you is what I'm seeing with our students, the most prevalent cases, and I lumped them all kind of together, in no certain order. Truancy cases. I get a lot of them from the school district, and what that is that, you know, the student misses too much time illegally. Our district's very fortunate to have Jill Platts. I've been very honored and fortunate to be dealing with her. We've come up with a couple programs we think are addressing problems. As a judge, that's been my most challenging cases because there's so many dynamics involved. You know, any other case, they come in, they're either guilty or not guilty. When a child comes in, they're missing too much school. You know, is it a parent issue? Is it a child issue? Is there mental health issues? Is there, you know, alcohol or drug addiction? And we're finding there's so many things going on. I mean, it's very sad. You know, what we're seeing in my one case that sticks out in my head, I had one student that missed 100 days of school in a school year out of 180 days. You know, it was a young student. I kind of thought to myself, what kind of chances does this student have? If that's the type of parents who are going to let them miss 100 days a year, and, you know, the parents weren't very involved. Again, it's very sad, and it's one of the issues we're dealing with. Another case that we see a lot of with our younger students are traffic cases. A lot of speeding. Southern Regional just brought me one a couple weeks ago. Gentleman was doing, 17 years old, was doing 83 miles an hour on Main Street in Shrewsbury at a 35-mile-an-hour limit. And he came in and tried to plead guilty because he didn't want his parents to find out. Well, he didn't read the law that at 17, if you plead guilty to that speed, he loses his license. And, you know, he didn't think about that, and his parents would find out because his insurance is going to skyrocket. So I said, you know, you got to get your parents in here. And actually, we've talked to his mother since, and she's actually said it's probably the best thing that happened because they're open a dialogue. They've had a lot of time to spend together now because he's playing soccer, and mom's got to take him to soccer practice all the time. So it's a little embarrassing for him, but she said it's really opened his eyes. And, you know, what would have happened if something happened to him in an accident at 83 miles an hour? We can't fix that. So his mom was very grateful that she did get called and get involved, and I don't think we'll be seeing him back. One of the things I'm seeing from mostly the high school is tobacco on school property. It's against school regulations, so the school files a citation in court. They end up found guilty, they get fined and have to pay fine and cost. Underage drinking is another big one. The youngest person I've had for underage drinking has been 14. And underage drinking, like the chief said, it's not just they were caught drinking. The law says possessing, transporting, consuming, anywhere in the area. You know, I get a lot of kids and parents come in and say, well, they didn't drink, they're in the same car and it's there, they're guilty. And you know, they'll stand up and shout, well, they're not guilty. Well, by law, they are. The law is very strict and broad to catch everybody and try to curtail that. Underage drinking is one of the worst citations that somebody under the 21 could get. For the first offense now, the fine is up to $500. $140 in court cost, and an automatic 3-month suspension of their license. And that's what usually gets the kids. They're not really worried about the fine too much, but when they hear automatically, you're losing your license for 3 months, that gets their attention. And they try to get out of it, and get other ways, but the law says they shall lose their license for 3 months, so they do. One of the big things in Pennsylvania, if they're found guilty of that offense, they're not eligible to take the nursing or teaching exam. So it's a career changer. And I'm really, sorry to say that I've learned that a lot in court that the students had no idea. I've had some students from the University of Pittsburgh that got caught when they were home drinking, and they were elementary education majors and had to go back to Pitt and change their majors because they didn't realize that was a consequence. So we need to share that's a life changer. The second offense for underage drinking is $1,000 and a 1-year suspension. And then retail theft is another one I'm seeing a lot of. The youngest person I've had for retail theft is 12. And that was really sad too, because I thought 12-year-old, what good is the fine going to do a 12-year-old? So I ended up making the gentleman do a poster about retail theft. And right now it's on display at the Shrewsbury Christian Academy. I'm going to try to rotate it around to the schools to show the consequences of retail theft. And what it could mean. And retail theft, the first offense is a $300 fine, $140 in court costs, $300 for fingerprinting. Second offense is a misdemeanor. It's up to a $1,000 fine, possibility of 30 days in jail. Third offense is a felony offense, so that's automatic jail time. The sad thing about that is I'm getting a lot of the students now, they may do it once, we call it a second time, it's automatically a misdemeanor. It doesn't matter if the second time they stole a Snickers bar, it's a $1,000 fine and could possibly jail time. So that's a real attention getter. I just had a gentleman arrested not too long ago, Rutgers and New Freedom, stole a bag of potato chips. And it cost him $1,800 when it was all said and done with fines and costs for a 99-cent bag of chips. And again, everything's on camera, so usually when they bring him in, they're accused of retail theft. You know, a lot of times they'll say, I'm not guilty, I didn't steal anything. And we watch videos, as clear as I'm standing here looking at you, I'm watching them put the stuff in their purse or hide it in the cart underneath something. And the stories that we hear are just unbelievable. The next one would be the drugs and drug paraphernalia. We're seeing a lot of that right now with marijuana, spice, which is synthetic marijuana, and that is nasty stuff. We've had some real serious cases in New Freedom. Just had 2 young gentlemen that were on it. They actually hit 3 parked cars, a telephone pole, and didn't stop. They didn't even know they hit anything. Went around the corner of the next street, the car fell in half. The axle came off of it. That's how they got caught. And they were that high, they didn't even know they hit anything. You know, it's nasty. The law keeps changing because the chemists keep changing what's in the synthetic marijuana to make it legal. So the law just recently changed again to kind of tighten that up. So my thing I wanted to talk to you about all those cases that we're seeing is, you know, again, everybody's going to make a mistake. Hopefully I never see him in court for something like this. But like the chief said, the roadmap, what I see is if the student was in for truancy, you know, last year, this year they're in for underage drinking. 2 months from now they're in for retail theft. Then they're in for another retail theft. Then marijuana possession. The roadmap's there, and you can see there's a problem. You know, the alcohol wasn't enough. Now they're stealing. We need more money for drugs. So they get caught with the marijuana when they come in, and I'll see their records, and I'll say, you have a drug problem, don't you? And they look at me with real big eyes. How'd you know that? Well, you just look at their record. And again, as parents, you got to see there's red flags going on. They're going to make a mistake, but if they keep coming back, there's something going on that needs to be addressed. In your household, things to look for, warning signs. If you start missing items in your house, you know, DVDs are starting to disappear, their computers, their, you know, Game Boys, things like that you used to care about, now they're disappearing. We're finding if you sell that, a lot of times it's at pawn shops. They're getting money for other things. Or if you start missing items, your jewelry, prescription medications, you know, the chief brought that up, but we're seeing a lot of that. I actually have more DUIs now in court for prescription medications and marijuana than I do for alcohol. And I would have never thought it was that, but it's not even close anymore. It's mostly prescription medications, marijuana, or a combination of both for DUIs. Know your children's friends. You know, you have to have that trust, but you want to verify. You know, when I talk to these young people and find out that they have a drug problem, I've asked them, you know, what happened, what went wrong? And most of them always say, I was a good student, I was in sports, I was really doing well, but I started hanging around somebody who had a drug problem. They said, I just started on it with them, and now I'm hooked. When they get up into heroin, and unfortunately we're seeing that a lot now, that's when things really start going bad, where they start stealing and really doing things that, you know, are getting, you know, a lot of trouble later in life. Okay, so again, the warning signs, when you start seeing a change in behavior, change in friends, you know, the people they used to hang with are not hanging with that, they're a different crowd now, so be familiar with that. I did have one parent come in, it was you know, a good family. I've talked to her before. His son came in recently for his second underage drinking, and he was in for marijuana possession. And the gentleman told me after court he spent $17,000 so far on his son's rehab, and he's still back in court. And it's a good guy, it's a good family. He's trying, but he just can't keep his son straight. And you know, imagine spending $17,000 to have the type of resource available to spend that kind of money, and it's not working. You know, how disheartening that must be. But he's not giving up. One thing I'd like to share, Doug, if you can pull up, the most important thing is this is a link to my website. And when you pull the front page up on the website, the court record search. This is a tool I'd just like everybody to know about. You can do a quick background check on anybody over the age of 18. Okay? You just click on court record search. It'll take you down to the record sheet, and you want to search by participant name. You need the person's last name, first name, and what county you want to search. Of course, it would be York County, unless you know they're from another area. You can search any county in Pennsylvania. And almost every state has this tool available. But you have to be proactive. You know, if you have a neighbor, you're starting to see the police there a lot, but you're not sure what's going on, and you know their name, put it in and see what they've been charged with. You need to know what's going on in your community, because believe me, it's everywhere now. You want to know who your children are running around with. You know, if they're going over to friends' houses, you know, run those people's names. You know, it's not invasion of privacy, it's public right to know, it's public record. So I'm not telling you any secrets. It's out there, but you really need to know that tool and be very vigilant and proactive and search. If you got an uneasy feeling about somebody, and when you check, if you check today, don't think forever, okay, we check once, everything's good. Check in a couple months, because they may get charged with something this weekend or next month that you didn't see anything first, but it's amazing how much stuff pops up pretty quick when there's a problem. But believe me, it's in every neighborhood. We have a wonderful community, but we're like everybody else. There's problems, and people are dealing with some demons right now. So, Chief, anything I missed?
Well, you pretty well covered.
Okay, and I'll be available for questions afterwards, and then the courtroom's open to the public. If anybody ever like to come out and sit in for the court, you're welcome to do that. I'd appreciate having you. Just get a cup of coffee and sit in the back and hold on. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
I think, as you can certainly tell, we're so very, very fortunate here in Southern to have Chief and Judge Joy. They care about kids. They care about the community. They care just as, and I see the heads nodding too. It's not the case in every place, but together all of us, our administrators, care greatly. We can make sure that collectively we're keeping our students and our kids safe. A couple of key things too that I certainly, as we hear our Judge or Chief share, it's so important as parents to talk to your kids, don't have blinders on, make sure that you're staying in tune with who are they hanging out with, what are they doing. There's a difference between being a nag or, really just hovering, and a difference in being just a really good, involved parent. Obviously, you all are that. You're here tonight, you care, and you're showing that you want to know as much as you can know to keep your students safe. At the elementary program, we're going to grab the mic. I'm sorry.
Really? Do we really?
For videotaping.
At the elementary level and at the middle and the high school, we have a student assistance program, and at the elementary it's called the HEART. And that's a program that we use when we see students who may be experiencing some behavioral changes that teachers are noticing, or that may be experiencing some actions that we're seeing. And also parents sometimes contact us and share us information with what's happening. And we work in partnership. It used to be Adams Hanover Counseling, it's now True North Wellness. And before your child goes through the HEART program, we would be contacting you and sharing. We have Darlene Bonsas-Poyle, who comes from True North Wellness, and she actually comes and visits all of our schools, and she'll do 3 counseling sessions with this child and then contact you as the parent and share information, what she discussed with the child, and making a recommendation if there's some further services, and then she sort of helps you through insurance and opportunities for other evaluations that could be done, or just some even in-family counseling or counseling for the child. And again, that can be initiated through the school and us contacting you, but you can also contact us at any time if you feel that's something that's important. I think just from parent to parent, some of the best conversations you can have with your children, especially when they get into their teen years, is in the car. They feel less threatened. When you're driving, you're not looking at them, and they're much more open to discussing things with you when you're driving in a car. So I've done it myself, and it works really well. I'm trying to think. We also have our guidance counselors at our elementary level. They're phenomenal, as they are at the middle school and high school. But we offer kids group, lunch groups, lunch bunch. There's all different groups that the students can be in for all different challenges that they may be having. It may be just self-esteem, it may be anxiety, it may be built in with school, it may be peer relationships, it may be changes that are occurring at home through maybe a divorce, or maybe through a loss in the family with someone. So there's all different groups. Don't hesitate to contact our counselors at any time. And Judge Joy shared about Jill Platt. She is phenomenal, and she has such great resources within the community and through York County to be able to refer you to, and she will help you go through any paperwork, working with the resources, helping you organize community and resource teams that come in that will do some counseling also. Lisa, do you think of anything at the elementary level? All right.
Secondary, Dr. Rucker, Mr. Mullin.
You know, as everybody has said this evening, I'm Dr. Rick, the principal at the middle school, but as everyone has said, is the best thing you can do is communicate. Communicate with your children. But the one thing that we say over and over again is if they tell you or you suspect something, address it. But if they tell you not to share or say something for the fear of getting in any trouble, please share it. Going back to the texting, I know Jen Duffy's not here anymore. But if there's things that are going on outside of school that are impacting your child, that may impact them at school, please share that. Please share them with the counselor, share them with the administration, because we're going to make sure that we're staying on top of those things. When you take a look at some of the pieces that Judge Joy as well as Chief Boddington had shared regarding the drugs and the alcohol, we have a real strong stance on that, very serious, that if any student is under the influence or in the possession of legal drugs, which could be any type of medication, or illegal drugs on campus, they will be expelled, suspended to the superintendent, Dr. Hensley, and to the school board, and expelled for up to a minimum of a school year. It's a very serious here at the middle school, at the elementary as well as the high school, that our number one responsibility as administrators is to keep the schools safe. And by keeping the schools safe, the first thing that we need to do is make sure that the school is safe of drugs, of alcohol, and most importantly, the other piece that we need to address much is the weapons, because that's going to be an automatic expulsion of one school year. So in order to keep our schools safe, we're going to need your help, because if there's things that you see, letting people know. The one thing we tell our students that they own our schools. So if there's something that they see that's going on within our schools, they need to take responsibility and ownership for the schools and let the adults know so that we can address those things immediately. Over the 6 years I've been at the middle school, I can tell you that when things have occurred, they've come from the students. We keep that information in confidence. We do not share that information. If someone would say, Dr. Rucker, where did you get that information from? I got it from a reliable source. We would never use your child's name. So that's another message you want to make sure that you're sharing with your children, because what you're seeing tonight, yes, there's 13 of you this evening, and I didn't count how many children were with you were here this evening, but more importantly, getting that information out to other people, because through you being here and spreading that word out will only help us keep Southern New York County School District as safe as possible. Kevin, I saved some for you, I think.
You covered it all.
Any other questions that anyone would have for the good of the group? And as I said, we'll be around for additional questions as long as you need.
I don't know if maybe this is for the chief or the judge, that any household items or over-the-counter items that we should, that you've been seeing that kids are using.
Good question.
We've had different experiences. We've had different experiences with some chemicals, huffing they call it, where they take spray paint, aerosol, spray in a bag, and breathe in the chemicals like that. That seems to be the biggest household type chemical abuse would be the huffing type thing, breathing the fumes. So if you see paper bags, rags soaked with lacquer thinner or something like that, the breathing these fumes to get high, it is one of the most common things we see as far as that goes. Over-the-counter medications, usually they don't take enough of them. The only things with ephedrine in them, Sudafeds, any type of ephedrine, they can be used by taking too many of them, or they use those in the process of trying to make methamphetamines with ephedrine. So if you notice a lot of packs of different cold medicines around, they could be using some of that kind of stuff to get high on different things. So almost anything they can take enough of to get high, but usually you'll see some sort of, a lot of different packaging around that is normal, that you normally have around your house.
Is this synthetic marijuana that's, quote, legal in the state of Pennsylvania, I guess, or in Maryland, is that something that's readily available at Walmart? I can't imagine.
Not at Walmart. You can find it in smoke shops. RYO, they carry, it's sold as an incense, okay, or they call it bath salts or different type of things. You're supposed to be able to burn it for aromatherapy and all this kind of stuff. What they're doing is they're smoking the stuff. And what it is, the companies, they banned certain chemicals they were using as the hallucinogenic drug. So the companies keep changing the makeup of the chemicals to stay ahead of the law. Okay, they'll say, okay, we're going to ban chemicals A, B, and C from this potpourri type stuff. So then they'll come out and say, okay, we use D, E, and F. So now it's within the law. So we're trying to get some legislation passed that just bans the whole concept of this. And we are taking some steps with some of the local people who are selling this stuff to make sure we're sending stuff to the lab, trying to make sure that they are abiding by the law. But I'll tell you what, it's actually worse than the real stuff. Not only is it hallucinogenic, but it seems to have a real serious effect on the brain as far as attitude and anger issues and that kind of stuff. They're actually having worse reactions with that than they are with the actual marijuana itself. So, I mean, you can take laundry detergent and smoke it and get high. There's so many things out there. If they want to do it, they can. Not that it's a smart idea. I just told some kids, look, if you want to get a pounding headache, slam your head against the wall. It's probably safer than smoking some of this stuff. But we're having some real bad reactions to this stuff. And, kids are doing all, and it's very addictive. And I think it's more psychologically addictive than anything. The kids will do anything to get it. And, they're out pawning their stuff. They want to pawn something. How much you want? Give me $24.65. That's what it costs for a bag of spikes. So they're being very specific on what they're taking. They're taking change out of cars and like sneaking around and going through people's cars, taking change to go buy spikes. So it's something we're working on. Hopefully the legislature will really crack down on it and give us a little more horsepower with it. But yes, it's very dangerous. What it boils down to is kids want to get something to abuse, to get high. And if they get the mindset, we should call it, to get high, to get by, whatever is readily available is what they'll use. If you have a lot of liquor bottles around in your house, if it's available, they'll get to it. If you have prescription medications around the house, they'll get to it. Or they'll get it at someone else's house. Okay, so you really have to keep your eyes open. If the stuff is out there, hopefully you can watch for some of the warning signs and try to see the change in their attitude, the change in their appearance, are some of the key things, and then really start to be careful. Hey, look through their book bags. Hey, you live in your house as far as I'm concerned. You're under 18, live in my house, I live in. I'll look through your book bag. I'm paying your bills. Just if they don't have to see you do it, but certainly keep an eye on what's going on. Go through the rooms, so you find out what's in the rooms. We've had kids, all of a sudden, we get a search warrant for a house to go through the rooms. We've had two guns in their room. Parents didn't know they had it. We've had all kinds of drugs. Well, I don't go with my kids. Well, maybe you need to. Because they got this kind of stuff in there. Some of these kids that were making balms for schools, they had ball making materials in their room. Parents never find them. I don't go in my kids' room. Well, you better. There was black powder, pieces of metal pipe, and someone here making pipe bombs. You better be checking out what's going on. So, you have to be a parent. You have to realize that kids have some privacy, but when they're living under your roof, they're yours. And, you got to really be careful and pay attention to what they're doing.